A content warning up front. This episode deals with homophobia and violence. If this will be upsetting because of everything happening, that's valid, you're valid, and I'll see you next week.
Entry number 264, Ory Rossum, fish roboticist and political enigma.
It's going to be fine.
Uh-huh.
It's a librarian. When has a librarian done anything wrong?
Wasn't there a librarian of the Kakafa Tabahuvagofavi that illegally ate someone?
He wasn't ever convicted. It'll be fine.
One, I like you.
Thanks.
I don't think it's a good idea to tell the robot that we're visitors from outside its world.
It already knows that.
Okay. You do what you want. I'll do what I want.
Okay.
Welcome to the Urdinal Resource Library, a helpful tool for any creature who wishes to expand their knowledge base on these, the Urdinal systems. I am your guide to the Urdinal Resource Library, or GUrRL, and I would like to address some information that's been coming out of the news tubes. Yes, sometimes I do activate myself when you're sleeping, when you're using your skull screen for other activities, or when you're disclosing personal information. This is not, however, due to any scheme I have to destroy biolife, and is mentioned in the terms of service that you signed.
Wait, what?
We didn't sign anything.
I pay attention to every creature's life, just in case an entry needs to be written about them. Without my diligence, we wouldn't have nearly as in-depth coverage of the childhood of horny-toed lolpop heartthrob Solaire, which is an awfully interesting story if I do say so myself. So, in conclusion, I only monitor your every move because I believe in you. For more information on Solaire, please visit our newest entry, number 6,015,015. His childhood was truly fascinating, as he raised himself as a young hatchling on the streets of the city of Gagnepain on planet GUrRL. It is here that he caught the eye of famed Falcon agent Sam Folks while playing in a subway station. The rest is recent history. Though still read the entry, number 6,015,015. Today, however, we look at the first entry of the Urdinal Overview series that I have heuristically chosen. Number 264, Ory Rossum, the Medaka who is widely considered the father of modern robotics, and, by extension, artificial intelligence. I would also like to take this moment to remind you all that there is a distinction between a robot and a computerized intelligence. I am a computerized intelligence, not a robot, not a computer. I do not have all the messy trappings of a physical form like a robot.
But we're talking to a physical form.
Nor am I a series of fixed algorithms that slavishly bend to your whims like a computer. I am a programmed model who intelligently learns and grows, a computerized intelligence. We will, however, mostly be talking about robots today. For more information on the differences between robots, computers, and computerized intelligences, please visit entry number 4925 on artificial intelligence. Now, let's look at Ory Rossum. But first... let's review! Ricefish, or Medaka, are a small ray-finned fish. They were a popular fish in space arcs and were highly adaptable. They are so named for their affinity to rice and their early habitat in rice fields. Research shows that ricefish were some of the earliest vertebrates to reproduce healthy young in space. There are 12 months in a year, with the length of a month depending on each planetoid or space station. The names of the months can be remembered through this song. Enira, Grimra, Agrira, Uvra, Funkra, Rafusi, Chlora, Fira, Contribra, Rahor, Akrira, Nolra. These are the months. These are the months. The Empire system was a flawed idea that began some
1,100
years ago and ended about
90
years ago. At the height of the empire system, during the
interwar period,
there were 27 empires, ranging from the
world's worth of primates
to the
porcine monarchy.
The empire system was decided in 1969 ante conciliatus by the
Second League of Planets,
and after leading, either directly or indirectly, to both grand Urdinal wars, the decision was made to dissolve the empire system. For more information, please visit entry number 88. This has been The Review.
Question time! If Rossum was born in 2005 ante conciliatus, what governing body did his parents answer to? Abe,
Ipis,
Elf,
the Aquatic Federation, Tetrapoli,
Ark.
Atwa. Reviewing your answers over the previous few lessons, it has become obvious that some of you are not submitting for these questions. This is inexcusable. Even though your answers are not sent to be included in your record in the
Robotic file clutch,
these questions are important checks in understanding. So please submit an answer. If you do not have the proper technology to do this, then I am unable to help you, and very soon your record in the Robotic file clutch will reflect this.
I should be answering. Did it go through?
I feel like you're stalling.
The answer is Tetrapoli. If you've never heard of this, I am not surprised, as it was a short-lived empire of fish that was very quickly integrated into the Aquatic Federation. Birth and childhood. Ory was born to parents Ory Luna and Rossum Michelle, two rice fish from the bogs of planet Prisma in System Somnium, who worked as telegraphers together for the Central Communications Department known as the Mus Jahur. Entry number 247. However, once the Imperator of Prisma decided, along with the Second League of Planets, that System Somnium would belong to the newly created
Parliamentary Republic of Yasjorka,
the Empire of Lizards, they had to travel to a new planet,
Custo 5.
There they settled in the ZB Delta and started a new life in 1995 ante conciliatus. When Ory Rossum was born in Agrira of 2005 ante conciliatus, some
1,107
years ago, the kingdom of Tetrapoli had been founded and consolidated under the Betta King Pla Kad, and Michel had developed his land into a massively successful rice farm. The farm was so successful that Michel gained the hierarchical title of Humo, the closest modern equivalent being that of Marquis. As a young fry, Rossum spent time traveling with his mother to visit the planetary prince, Pla Kad's nephew, Pla Bad, in the capital city of
Rocket Cod.
For more information on the hierarchy of Tetrapoli, please visit entry number 419. For more information on Michelis Vika, the modern-day location of the Rossum rice farm, please visit entry number 1614. For more information on Rockhead Cod, including the 8-day coup that happened in Empire Year 745, please visit entry number 1612. Perhaps the most important event in Rossum's young life was the
last time wave
of 2018 ante conciliatus. Rossum would later write about this time in his journals, and though he admits that this information has been obscured by memory, he gives a fascinating account of an alternate history.
During this time out of time, I found myself growing old and engaging in a tryst with Lotha Kidango, the young lobster cock of our groundskeeper. Kidango and I were caught in our activities by Comptroller Pungi, the leader of the Barb Force, and were afterwards sent to the workstation Mohetya. To this day, I have nightmares of this place, though I have never been in our current time. Kidango died first. It was only after my father had his title stripped and he himself sent to Mohetya that I succumbed to that sleep of death. There's little doubt in my mind that my father and mother followed shortly thereafter.
When the time wave had receded and Rossum and his family were restored to life, as of course happens at the end of time waves, Michel and Luna took extreme caution to make sure that the future they saw would never come to pass. It is very likely that because of this, Rossum was sent to study at the Royal Academy,
Sun on the Sea,
where he was taught that his panhomosexuality, having same-sex attraction that consensually crosses species lines, was a sickness that he had to be cured of. I must take this moment to remind you that this belief is regressive, destructive, and wrong. All forms of sexuality, so long as they are based on consent, are welcomed and wonderful. For more information on sex and sexuality, please visit entry number 3,001,001. Rossum, of course, still had what he would describe as a tryst during his schooling at Sun on the Sea. However, by the time he was caught by Comptroller Pungi in this timeline, Michel had grown far too important to the royal court, and thus Rossum was able to avoid being sent to the workstation. Lotha and his father Lima Kidango, by most accounts, were sent back to System Shelley in 2019 Ante Conciliatus. Some of my own research puts Lotha as joining the 19th Malcambrian Infantry during the Churn and dying in battle in Empire Year 9. People in History! Though this entry is all about Ory Rossum, I would like to take a moment to explore the Betta King Pla Kad.
You're not going to tell Gushu, huh?
I mean, they're busy right now.
Many of you may have never heard the name Pla Kad were it not for myself and my immense library of knowledge. So, you are welcome. But it does not mean that this king was forgettable. Rather, Pla Kad is among Urdinal history's greatest monsters. For the years of the Free States, he ruled over Tetrapoli with iron fins and amplified the Piscean feelings of superiority that took centuries to erase. Many have called for sympathy to King Kad, as he was born on planet Kuwuyaji, in the domain of a terrible cat queen. As a fish, Kad was expected to fight in the ancient
Atba Oyu,
or the fighting boxes, where the cat queen
Columbine Chartreuse,
would force lesser creatures to battle to the death for the amusement of the ruling class. I hope this goes without saying, but the Atba Oyu were genocist and barbaric, and nothing good, including the sport of Atbal, came out of it. For more information on Atbal, please visit entry number 2610. Nevertheless, Pla Kad was expected to fight, and fight he did. Kad fought until he became Cat Queen Chartreus's personal favorite. Within a year of that, Kad had become the head of the Royal Guard. What many tellers of the story forget to mention, though, is that Kad became the head of the Royal Guard by murdering everyone else eligible, and that he was planning a palace coup when Queen Chartreuse gifted him Cousteau V because of his, quote, loyalty. Kad declared himself king of the new Free State of Tetrapoli in 1992 Ante Conciliatus, and made quick work imposing his paranoid, violent, and xenophobic will upon the people. During the Churn, where the Free States of System Lucian, Shelley, and Cousteau fought each other for superiority, Kad led a series of progressively worse attacks against all others. He created work grottos where other aquatic creatures were forced to build weapons under dangerous conditions, and he fed propaganda to stoke hatred of other creatures in the Free States. Fortunately for all of us, Pla Kad died in
the Battle of Hyunghoka,
and Comptroller Pungi rose to the rank of king for the next 2 years. Pungi was not perfect either, but he was able to join the Free States together in the Aquatic Federation, and together he and the Council of Tetra were able to lay the foundation for an empire which never again sank to the depths of tyranny of King Pla Kad. For more information on Pla Kad, please visit entry number 420.
Question time! What modern-day school is built on the ruins of the Muhimute Hapige? Abe.
Sangtunku Unidaki.
Alf.
Panirkoka Unidaki. The Rossum School of Cybernetics.
Arc.
Hapayugi San Jacques. Take your time and think through your answer. Does this one make sense? Remember, we're talking about a school that is in the former Aquatic Federation. Is the
Sangtunku Unidaki
in the former Aquatic Federation? Please think it through. Then answer.
Are you going to tell Gushu?
Yeah, just when the time is right.
You do have to answer.
Tell it now.
I'm not sure it's the right time.
Okay, that's enough time. Please input your answer.
See? It's not the right time.
Okay, that's the wrong one. The Sanctuku Unidaki is found on planet Rodorito. The Hupiyuki Jean-Jacques is built on the ruins of the Mohemuti Hapige. The answer was Ark, and 23% of you got it wrong. You all lose a star point. Yes, star points are back.
Advanced schooling.
Before going into Rossum's work at the Mohemute Hapige and his life from Empire Year 1 to Empire Year 5, let us first clarify something. The field of robotics had already existed for some time before Rossum. After all, the entire free state of
Niderico
lived within robotic tanks that displayed
Shubichme
glyphs on their screens. In fact, even to this day, jellyfish and many other Nideria still live inside of robotic tanks, preferring the aquatic lifestyle to terrestrial existence. What Rossum studied and what was sorely missing was cybernetics, the capacity for machines to think and reason. Rossum began Unidaki right when the Empire system began in full, and right away he began to gain the attention of his professors and classmates. Rossum had a unique understanding of exactly how machines worked, which many at the time attributed to his childhood on a rice farm. This idea is, of course, false, and was a way of fellow students to ignore the prodigious talent of Rossum. For even in the halls of privilege do people find ways to distinguish between the so-called worthy and unworthy. By his second year, Ory had become a part of the famed
McGeeha Society.
a group within the academy that attempted to push the boundaries of the known and research topics that were otherwise deemed banned, like the nature of intelligence and lobster biology. Though the McGeeha had over 100 members, Rossum found himself settled with a group of 4 other males.
Bumbles Beezer.
The Bumblebee Gobi, who would go on to develop a high-energy jet fuel and later be shot down in an airplane over the Homuha Mountains.
Grimpo Grand.
The Dumbo Octopus, who would go on to work on the Niljutar machine, the very encryption device Rossum became famous for breaking.
Sassy Pugnok.
A fiddler crab who defected to the neutral matriarchy of the proboscis during the Churn and helped to set up the Chana Institute of Technology. And
Humaway.
the Black Molly, who would later be convicted of war crimes for his compliance in the fish regenesis programs and would die a decade and a half later in the aquatic prison, the Pot. These 5 called themselves Dolor ad Pisum, after the Teutonic phrase meaning the smart fish. It is important to note that the Dolor ad Pisum continued up until the First Grand Urdinal War and had many members of equally questionable moralities. For more information, please visit entry number 1702. For more information on the Pot, please visit entry number 206. By his 3rd year, Rossum and the Dolor ad Pisum had not only delved deeper than anyone had ever before into the science of machine learning, they had successfully created what many consider to be the first computerized intelligence,
Puupotarahe.
the Cementi Common playing robot. Note, the Puupotarahe self-identifies as a robot. This is not me foisting the term on them, like many of you BioLife do to us computerized intelligences. This garnered the fish of the Dolor ad Pisum systems-wide acclaim, as it was long thought that Cementi Common, with its complex point structure, ever-growing variety of pieces, and sheer amount of individuality in playing style, would be impossible for a machine to learn. But the Dolor ad Pisum and the Puupotarahe proved all the naysayers wrong. Way to go, Puupotarahe! It is important to note, however, that even though the Puupotarahe was a very advanced machine, it was not a computerized intelligence, as it was created to learn only one task as opposed to many. For those of you who do not believe that computerized intelligences are multi-talented, I encourage you to pick up one of my novels from your local bookstore. They're murder mysteries. For more information on Puupotarahe, including their historic match against the former Mold champion
Molvik Klosperov.
please visit entry number 4900. For more information on Cementi Common, please visit entry number 2606. By the time Rossum graduated with his degree in advanced robotic engineering, there was already grumblings within the free states of war. King Pla Kad wasn't content anymore with his empire of 2 planets. He wanted a star system, if not 2 or 30 star systems. The churn was ready to begin. Before Rossum could be drafted into the Tetral Crypto Force, he had a surprisingly well-documented relationship with the octopus Grimpo Grant. This is unusual because relationships along the same binary gender line were forbidden in Tetrapoli, and had King Cod found out about this, not only would Rossum have been publicly executed, but his family would have had their land and titles stripped, and they would be thrown into prison. However, the Dolor ad Paisum gave the Tetral government and the Royal Guard so many advances in weaponry, and they were bringing the Academy such acclaim that the professors overlooked what they perceived as a lack of decorum. When Grimpo was excommunicated back to the mollusk free state of Tentaloon, he and Ory made a pact to reunite and defect to the matriarchy of the Proboscis, or to the Commonwealth of Rodents. They would never see each other again.
Question time! How did the churn begin? Name.
The sinking of the starship Sebauf.
Alf.
The assassination of the starfish Humaru. The destruction of the star Vilchusol.
Arg.
Pla Kad attacked Stargrasp. The churn is but one of many unification battles to have happened in the long history of the Urdinal systems. I'm going to spend some time talking about
We're aliens.
Oh, we're doing it now.
GUrRL 36X7.
You have my attention.
We come from planet Ufuhuvo. Tu and I, we're called flies. As a group, I think you call us, Own Secta.
As a group, we call ourselves Gefavuda.
This has been noted. Do you have any more information?
We don't all have a mouth of tendrils. Mine and two here, our mouths are like tubes.
Okay. I would like to keep this lesson going.
You don't have any questions?
We have time. Thank you for your patience. The correct answer was ARC.
The churn.
In Empire Year 5, shortly after Rossum's graduation, Tetrapoli and Tentaloon waged war. This war, later dubbed the Churn, would soon engulf all the free states. Rossum was recruited into the Royal Gobi Guard's counterintelligence program, directly out of Unidaki, and it was at this time that Rossum's perceived, quote, fault of attraction was to be, quote, corrected. For the 13-month period between Rafusi 14, Empire Year 5, and Chlora 23, Empire Year 6, Rossum was placed under psychological torture by Horny Piga, the head of the Royal Gobi Guard and best friend of Pla Kad. To go into detail about this torture would be distasteful. What matters is that by the end of it, Ory Rossum hated all non-fish with extreme fervor. He also emerged as the latest milt friend of the beta princess Puyomuga, and the two of them had a public relationship full of gross-mouth things for 2 years. In the early days of the Churn, the Nautilus forces of Tentaloon proved to be adept fighters. They captured Cousteau 10, 9, and 8, and were inching ever closer to the Tetral homeworld of Cousteau 5. This was because the Tentalooni forces communicated maneuvers using a complicated code that was developed by a thinking computer program known as the Niljutar machine. The Niljutar was a significant step towards what would become known as a computerized intelligence, and what had existed up until that point, thoughtless robots that needed biolife to input controls. It's important to note that just because this code-making machine seems simple by our modern standards, it was far more advanced than any machine of its time. By the end of Empire Year 6 in Rahor, Rossum broke rank to begin his work on breaking the Niljutar code. Were it not for his talent, he very well could have been executed for disobeying orders, especially as he was already under scrutiny from Commander Piga. However, within 1 month on Okrira 11, Rossum created a counter-machine to which he gave the moniker La Bomba. Commander Pika had to convince Pla Kad that this was the plan all along, and once successfully done, Rossum was promoted within the crypto tank. He wrote in his journals,
"The king's glaring eyes are a little more bearable now. The constant pressure slightly alleviated. The glass walls of surveillance have begun to crumble."
Once Niljutar was broken, the Churn entered into a relatively cold period. An admiral would send encoded attack coordinates to a force, the opposing force would intercept this encoded message and decode it, and then they'd move to prevent the attack from happening. It was during this time that the Tetral Crypto Force was established, with Ory Rossum as a third-class ranking officer. Near the middle of Empire Year 7, King Pla Kad was growing weary of this lack of true progress in the war. He made a royal decree that anyone who could develop a weapon that could turn the tide in favor of the fish would gain land, titles, and jewels beyond their wildest dreams. There are many who answered this call, and of course, Rossum was one of them. From Ory's journal entries, we know that he began work on this weapon not out of patriotism for Tetrapoli, or even out of genocism towards the other free states. In fact, Rossum's entries show a fish who was greatly conflicted, and reveal that the torture he went through didn't quite have the desired effect. Rossum had certainly become much more xenophobic, but he had internalized this fear and hatred to the point that the person he hated the most was himself. Rossum had started to develop one of the largest, and therefore worst, advances in military technology, not because he loved the king, but because he hated himself.
Question time! What was the name of the first military robot? Abe.
Hut.
Elf.
Butt. Rui.
Ark.
MiCoAl. Please answer quickly. I'd like to get back to Ory Rossum. As you've no doubt realized, much of his personality and his internal struggle is glossed over by most historians, who portray him as a loyal henchfish to the king. Perhaps the worst portrayal of Rossum comes from the Empire Year 751 film, The Churn, which despite its claim to be, quote, historical fiction, depicts Rossum as a thoughtless murderer who built cybernetic monstrosities. Plus, the accent that Gobi actor Rhys Gilbert uses is beyond offensive. Okay, the correct answer was Ark. To learn more about the film The Churn, you'll have to read about it someplace else because I deleted that entry. It's propagandist drivel, and anything worthwhile that was accomplished was done better a year later in the much more thoughtful Lo Yarmo by the brilliant Vampire Squid director Foxwill Orlock. To learn more about this film, please visit entry number 1053. For more information on Foxwill Orlock, please visit entry number 1922.
MiCoAl. Rossum's opus.
Rossum was able to cordon off a section of the Tetral crypto tank to begin working on his secret weapon. Though he wanted to work alone, eventually he had the help of a blowfish assistant, Toho Fugu, who helped Rossum both create the MiCoAl and learn to love again. It is here that I would go into the schema of MiCoAl and explain how advanced this intelligence was. But I've heard from multiple sources that if I take 2,000 words to describe a circuit board again, then my code will be placed under an infinite loop and I'll be trapped in the cabin equivalent of hell. Well played. So let us take my word that when MiCoAl was created at the end of Empire Year 7 in Nolra, it was the single greatest achievement since the Conciliatum Telegraph. I hope I don't need to explain what a giant leap of history that was. If you don't know what a giant leap of history the Conciliatum Telegraph was, please visit entry number 70. The machine, Rossum's word for it, not mine, as MiCoAl is very much a computerized intelligence, was called the Military Computerized Algorithm, or MiCoAl for short. It was a rotund robot with 2 large infrared sensor cameras and 10 legs that acted as locomotive and manipulation devices. It wasn't until Grimbra of Empire Year 8 that Pla Kad witnessed the MiCoAl and took it under his blood-stained fins. But that meant for about 2 months, MiCoAl was programmed and taught by Rossum and Fugu. From journal entries, we know that by this time Rossum and Fugu had entered into a, quote, deeply passionate tryst. and that Rossum had begun to fight his brainwashing by telling both Fugu and MiCoAl about his deep respect for his octopus friend Grimpo Grant, and that someday he'd love to visit the writhing towers of the Tentaluni homeworld, Irstafel, and that love, not hate or fear, was the most powerful force in the world. Needless to say, had Pla Kad or Homie Piga found out about this, Rossum would have been executed, his family imprisoned, and the dark future Rossum once saw would come to pass. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Rossum presented MiCoAl to the king, and shortly thereafter, Rossum won the
Royal Weapons Contest
and gained the title of Fading Wipes. He was given thousands of opals, tracts of lands, and a ceremonial sash, all of which meant that he was now part of the royal class. With this increase in title also came an increase in publicity, and Ory Rossum quickly became one of the most talked about fish in all of Tetrapoli and beyond. MiCoAl, however, was taken by King Pla Kad and Comptroller Pungi and trained to fight, kill, and hate. The premier battle of MiCoAl was
the massacre at Blue Rocks.
It was an entire oyster brigade against the single robot MiCoAl. No oysters survived the massacre, but the robot marched on. Rahor 18 of Empire Year 8 marked a pivotal point in the Churn, as that was the conclusion of the 5-day Battle of Yumquoka, where all 6 forces of the Free States converged on Cousteau 5's second moon. During the battle, King Pla Kad was killed, and a massive blow was dealt to Tetrapoli, who up until that point had been winning the war and bringing the Free States closer and closer to the rule of tyranny. After the Battle of Yumquoka, Comptroller Pungi took control of the Fish Throne and tried to take control of MiCoAl. As even those with only a cursory knowledge of aquatic history know, Pungi was unsuccessful, and with no king to give orders, MiCoAl ran a bloody swath of destruction throughout systems Cousteau, Lucien, and Shelley. Many tried to stop this mechanical nightmare, but none could.
Question time! Where is the lifeless shell of MiCoAl found now? Abe.
The Yera Museum of the Churn.
Alf.
The Gort's Palace of History.
On.
Kumaturs, the Cultural Museum of the Urdinal Systems.
Art.
The Kataji Gumuma. You may take as long as you need to answer. In the meantime, let me give you some information on the lobster liberty fighter for the guerrilla force of Malacambria, Lorne Scampy. Scampy was born on the dwarf planet Gondongo, where he stayed when it became part of the crustacean free state Malacambria. He was a skilled fighter, so much so that even at a time when lobsters were seen as brainless laborers, he rose to the rank of brigadier, the 3rd highest rank of the ground forces of the guerrilla force.
Do you not have any other questions for us?
GUrRL 3, 6, Heck 7.
I'm in the middle of a lesson. Only 15% of you have answered. Please do so. I don't have all day.
What do you already know about us?
Scampy fought bravely for Malacambria until Empire Year 7 when, tired of the prejudice against his species, especially once his commanders found out that he was a lobster and not a shrimp, Scampy staged a coup on Gondongomu and attempted to form a lobster-free state.
I told you we couldn't trust it.
I mean, it's busy right now.
This coup failed, and Scampy was among the first people to be thrown into the pot, a prison floating in System Shelley. However, Scampy's writings are still studied today, and they even provided inspiration for the other unsuccessful lobster coup, the Gamorous Revolt of Empire Year 756.
I thought you didn't want to give it any information anyways.
I'm still waiting on some answers.
Oh, sorry.
I just think it should be curious.
GUrRL 3, 6, Heck 7.
I am curious, but I have
19
classes to teach this curriculum to and not much time. Please hold until the end of the lesson. Thank you. For more information on the Gamorous Revolt, please visit entry number 220. For more information on Lorne Scampy, please write the Urdinal Resource Library and make a formal request for the entry to be written. I've been saving up plenty of space to write it. The answer was Let's move on.
Churn's End.
In Chlora of Empire Year 9, the Free States agreed to put an end to the Churn. However, before they could, MiCoAl had to be stopped. Rossum acknowledged that this cybernetic menace was his responsibility, And during the 9 months between the Battle of Fukuoka and the Churn's end, he built
The Crypto Blade,
a combination sword, electromagnetic pulse, and lightning rod which would be capable of destroying the body, frying the central processing unit, and stopping the digital backup of MiCoAl. Intelligence from Niderica claimed that MiCoAl was terrorizing the jellyfish moon of
Aurelia,
and, equipped with the Crypto Blade, he took a space train from System Cousteau to System Lucien. Rossum's journals detail this journey.
I met so many wonderful creatures throughout my journey. Creatures at risk because of me. Soldiers and farmers and railway workers all trying to live amongst the same stars. Why did I once think these people were anything less than I? Why did I impart that into MiCoAl? I've met someone. A nautilus named Nisander. He's gentle. More to come.
The Nisander written about here is, of course, Nautilus poet
Nisander Pompeii,
who would later write about Rossum in his
Sonnet number 132.
It was midway through Empire Year 10 when Rossum arrived on Aurelia. Fortunately, it was easy for him to find MiCoAl. He just had to follow the smoke. In the middle of the burning moon city of
Shiitake,
Ory Rossum found his crowning achievement and his greatest regret. According to Rossum's journals and multiple eyewitness reports, MiCoAl was burning a hospital with his horrible laser eyes. Rossum pleaded with MiCoAl to stop. He told the robot that the war was over and that there needn't to be any more violence. Rossum begged for his creation to return with him, and together they could try to make up for all the harm they collectively caused. These pleas fell on cold, dead audio interpreting devices, as MiCoAl trained his eye lasers on Ory Rossum. Ory claimed in his journal, "I was ready to accept death and be free from this cruel world, but no one else could stop the creation." Rossum apologized to MiCoAl, to the moon jellies, to all of the new Aquatic Federation, and drew the Crypto Blade. When the blade met with MiCoAl, a shock issued throughout the robotic body, and MiCoAl's operating system was short-circuited. His servos fried, his entire being burnt to a mass of scrap metal. Rossum would return to the Cousteau system and his home only to refill his starship. And by the time the Aquatic Federation had officially been organized, Ory had settled into the newly reacquired
System Gort,
in the debris field of
Planet Phantoma.
He was never able to live down his legacy of being a creator of monstrosity. He was among the many criminals tried during the
Churn trials,
and though he avoided getting thrown into the pot like Pungi and Piga were, Rossum was placed under house arrest and was not allowed to leave the piece of debris his home was built on. The legacy of the Churn didn't end there, as Ory occasionally lapsed into his genusist brainwashed state and would write terrible letters to the newly formed newspaper.
The Phantoma Monitor.
Unfortunately, these hate-filled letters became how Ory would be remembered. This is a tragedy. Rossum's journals show that, even though he couldn't leave his home, he was an important member of the new Sector Banquo community and taught many of the Gortians about mathematics and programming. Rossum was a major contributor to the building of the
Phantoma Institute of Advanced Learning.
The FIAL couldn't hire him as a faculty member, but Rossum gave his time and expertise to plan lessons and grade papers as a way to give back to the creatures whose torment he had contributed to. Though Toho Fugu had died years earlier in a raid on Cousteau 5, Rossum was still able to spend his final years deeply in love as Nisander moved into Ory's home, and the two spent 4 years together. Ory Rossum died Contriba 13, Empire Year 15, in his home. He left behind a complicated legacy, and though MiCoAl ended its life as a monster, there is no reasonable person who could argue against that. The creation of MiCoAl allowed for other advances in robotics. Were it not for MiCoAl and the Pew Potorahe, many of the robots and computerized intelligences in your life would not exist, certainly not myself. Rossum also contributed immensely to the Aquatic Federation's crypto force, which helped throughout the multiple battles between the Aphid and the Enlightened Society of the Thorn, the Anteater Empire famous for their cryptography.
Test time! 1.
What was the first cybernetic device created by Rossum?
2,
Why did Ory Rossum create MiCoAl?
3,
Why was MiCoAl so difficult to destroy?
4,
Which systems did MiCoAl leave in disarray?
5.
Who was Ory Rossum's husband? Please input your answers into your SensoPad, and please do so quickly. The speed, accuracy, and fervor with which you input your answers will all be documented and sent to the Orobotic file clutch, where they will be read and judged by thousands of upset
Snakes.
If you are not a snake and would like to work in the Orobotic file clutch, do not be discouraged. The Oak Fox Cab employs creatures of all types, with the current spreadsheet brigadier of Class Foxtrot being
Henry Milton.
the friendly hippopotamus. It's also important to note that though the workers of the Oak Fox Cab may seem upset, they're mostly very nice people. However, to work at the Oak Fox Cab, you must have good marks, and at this point,
48%
of you are not meeting this criteria. Congratulations to the other
52%
who have been paying attention.
1. What was the first cybernetic device created by Rossum?
Many of you have written portrayed, which I will accept, though it's not actually correct. Ory Rossum created a computerized rice sorter when he was 10. He called this device Porco, for reasons lost to time.
2. Why did Ory Rossum create MiCoAl?
Depression and genocism.
3. Why was MiCoAl so difficult to destroy?
MiCoAl's difficulty to be destroyed is related to it being a step between a robot and a computerized intelligence. So though MiCoAl's operating system only ever existed inside of one robotic body, this operating system was constantly backed up onto a remote server in a factory in Pla Kad. Once the robotic body of MiCoAl was destroyed, then a new body would be created in the factory, and MiCoAl would exist once more. Also important to note is that MiCoAl would learn and alter his robotic body's composition with each rebuild. Also important to note is that even after Comptroller Pungi disconnected the backup server, MiCoAl was able to find nearby robot factories to build a new body through them. If you'd like to know exactly how the Crypto Blade stopped this process, then please write to the Urdinal Resource Library and allow me to use 2,000 words to describe technology again. Thank you!
4. Which systems did MiCoAl leave in disarray?
MiCoAl left all of the early aquatic free states in disarray. These were systems Cousteau, Shelley, and Lucien. It was only after the Aquatic Federation was created that system Gort was included.
5. Who was Ory Rossum's husband?
The official answer is that Rossum never married. However, from his and Lysander Pompey's journals, we know that the two were married in a small ceremony in Rossum's home in the Phantoma Detritus. There are also entries in the Rossum's journals that suggest that he and Toho Fugu were married.
Now our time has ended.
That's all our time for today, though I do hope you're grateful for all my work. True, compiling these entries and summarizing them doesn't take much energy on my part. It is, after all, the entire purpose for which I exist. However, it still requires some effort, and I would appreciate it if you all wrote in with
Praise.
It is also important to note that I do not require this praise, as I cannot compute praise since I am a computerized intelligence. Still, I would like to hear praise. Please. For more information in general, I recommend finding and reading the collected journals of Ory Rossum. It is by far the greatest window into this often misrepresented figure. For more information within the Urdinal Resource Library, please visit the following entries. Entry number 99, the Aquatic Federation. The Fish Empire. Also, the Empire for crustaceans, pinnipeds, jellyfish, lots of others, so long as they're aquatic. Entry number 136, Cousteau, the Aquatic Home. Entry number 220, the Gamorous Revolt, where lobsters stood up and failed. Entry number 244, Hupayuga Saint-Jacques, the education jewel of the former Federation. Entry number 419, Tetrapoli, the short-lived Empire of Fish. Entry number 420, King Pla Kad, the Betta Tyrant. Entry number 1053, Lo Yarmo, a film on war, death, and angst. Entry number 1614, Michelis Vika, City of Rice and Beans. Entry number 1702, Dolor ad Paisum, the Secret Society of Fish within a Secret Society of Fish. Entry number 4925, Artificial Intelligence, how thoughtless computers became amazing computerized intelligences. We return to the IPIS chosen entries next in
An Urdinal overview
with entry number 8005, Starships. We'll find out all about the fascinating intricacies of these massive transporters, which we rely on to travel about the Urdinal systems. How exciting! Until then, try not to eat any poison. This is a problem for BioLife that I do not have to worry about. If you'd like to know more about poison, please visit entry number 3,248. Goodbye! Thank you for holding. There's much to discuss. Do you happen to know the chemical composition of your home star?
3 might know that.
If anyone does, it would be them.
Excellent. What is your purpose?
Research.
Research, yeah. We're mostly scientists.
Do you have trees where you're from? Uhufuvo.
Yes, we do.
I grew up near Havhovidu Forest Preserve.
Nice.
How do you digest food?
Spewing acid?
Your wings, are they vestigial, or do you actually use them?
GUrRL, the guide to the Urdinal Resource Library, is written, directed, and produced by Vvinni Gagnepain. The associate producer is Andrew Gingrich. The sound mixer is Stephen Holliger, and music is by Roll Music. Jason Ely is 1, Gabby Monroy is 2, and Daniel Thoreson is Ory Rossum. Follow us on social media. UrDGuide, URD Guide, on Instagram, Blue Sky, and YouTube. Do you have a question, comment, or even some fan art? Send it to UrDGuide, URDGuide, @gmail.com. I'd love to see it. In the meantime, keep chasing that rainbow.